Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. Here at EQ Video Tip, we take research from top EQ authors, writers, researchers, and distill it down to you in a quick format. We try to help you with at least 3 tips that will hopefully 10x your EQ for the day. And we try to do this in about 5 minutes or less, depending on how fast I talk or my co-hosts talk. So let's talk about the goals of the EQ Video Tip and get started for today. Do you ever feel overwhelmed? We all do at some point in our lives. And sometimes, this day and age, it feels like it's every day or every week or every month. So we're going to provide you with some tips to help you out. But these aren't our tips. These are tips from Alice Boyce, who's a PhD and a former clinical psychologist who's now turned into a writer and is the author of The Healthy Mind Toolkit and The Anxiety Toolkit. I'd recommend those books to you, but in case you don't have a chance to read them, here are a couple tips that will help you out when you feel overwhelmed. You look at the time, I feel overwhelmed. I just don't have enough time. Well, that's the sense that a lot of people feel when they're overwhelmed. But in fact, people come up with great ideas for their stress and worry when they're actually overwhelmed. For example, hiring someone to help you around the house, or taking care of yourself with some self-care practice, or seeing a therapist, or taking a vacation, or even organizing a game night. A lot of times people say, I just don't have time, and they dismiss that idea because right now you feel overwhelmed. So next time you feel overwhelmed, instead of thinking what would be the ideal outcome, choose the best option that's easy for you. Perhaps you don't have time to research the best vacation or the best housekeeper out there, but getting something instead of nothing will help you out. When you have an idea and it's really good, but you don't act on it, it leads to a sense of powerlessness. And you end up in this loop of should-haves and could-haves and wasted time and energy. So instead, think about what can help you out and act on it the next time you feel overwhelmed. Our next tip, let your mind wander. We all probably think, I just need to focus. If I focus, I'll get through this. But your unconscious mind is great at problem solving too. In fact, sometimes it's even better than your focused mind. So what do you do to unlock that amazing power that you have? Well, you might want to take a walk, or maybe do the dishes, or even cook. Or some people, they think really well in the shower. Whatever it is, let your mind wander instead of trying to focus next time you have a problem. You'll be amazed that magically sometimes that solution will appear for you. So try it out next time. When you're overwhelmed, take 20 minutes to just let your mind wander. Tip number 3. We're interpreting the feeling of being overwhelmed as a weakness. Now, a lot of times we're overwhelmed simply because we need to do a task and we're just not familiar with it. That's okay. But what happens is we get self-critical about the fact that we feel overwhelmed and we can't do it as easily as other tasks that we typically do on a normal day-to-day basis. So instead of being self-critical and procrastinating and then triggering more feelings of being overwhelmed, take a moment to be compassionate and have self-compassion talk to oneself, as well as asking someone else for help. This way, you won't interpret the feeling as a sign of weakness, but in fact, you're getting help and you're able to move on from the problem. Our last tip, don't withdraw. It may sound silly and it may seem easy, but a lot of times when we're overwhelmed, people tend to withdraw. It can be something subtle, like instead of squeezing your child or your loved one every morning for 5 seconds, you just give them a quick little hug. But when doing that, you're missing an opportunity to fill up your emotional cup. And that's what we need the most every day. And you risk that your loved ones are noticing a difference in your actions and not getting your attention as well. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, it may seem right to withdraw, but make sure you spend that extra minute or 2 with them. I know, for example, for myself, I try, when I feel overwhelmed, to spend a few minutes with my kids playing with their toys on the floor. It may seem silly, but after some time, I feel more relaxed, and more focused. And sometimes I even get into my flow that way. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, don't withdraw. Take a moment and do your normal routine so that you get into the flow of the day. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the tips that we went through and review them, as well as a few others that might be useful for your day. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ video tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.